Hey, welcome to the Sounds on Vinyl show. As always, my name is Phil Boyer, and from across the great open sea, we have my brother from another mother, Mr. Professor Rockstar Extraordinaire, Mr. Viking. Of course, he goes by Mike Svensson every day. So, there we go.
Keep going.
Let's go.
Keep going. I mean, I can just sit there all day and listen to you.
That's the show. Just introducing Mike. That's all we're going to do. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week. And no.
Oh, man. Those introductions, man. I should record them and have them as an introduction when I meet new people. So who are
just
you?
Play it.
And I just
your
just
name
play
is?
it on my phone. And here we go.
Here we go.
What do you do? And press another one. Here we go. Oh man, that is too much. Right there, it's too much. But hey, I'm not complaining.
Hey, there you go, man. There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So what's up?
What we're just kicking back, drinking out of the horns.
Oh yeah,
spinning vinyl as always. That.
Oh,
that's what life is. That's what we do. That's what we talk about.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, you got any finds this week?
Oh yeah. I forgot.
You forgot?
I forgot to take them with me. What the fuck is wrong with me? Oh, I have one here. Right in front of me. I should have shown this last week, so I have to wing it right now.
Got to wing it.
I got to wing it.
We got to wing
this
it.
little album right here.
Ooh, Thin Lizzy. There we go.
Yeah, I bought a couple. Of finds, but I left them in my living room where I have all my records. So, but I found this one, and well, what do you know? Do I need another copy of this one?
Of course.
What the hell kind of a question is that? Of course I do. Of course.
If you have to ask that question, then you don't know.
No.
Am I right?
You are. Always. You're always right. And this is, we talked about this so many times before. The special stuff from the 70s and the 80s. I mean, just look at this. There's a cartoon of the band right here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can actually see me holding up this album. And if you're not on YouTube, well, it's your loss. You see?
It's your loss.
Because we're doing video nowadays, so that you can watch all this beautiful artwork from all the vinyl records that we show here on Sounds on Vinyl. Right. So, but this is kind of cool. This is it gets me every time I see this one, because you can open it up like this, and then you got a whole story here,
full on picture,
full on comic.
Look at that.
You see?
That's awesome.
I mean, you don't print albums like this anymore. You get the full Monty right here. Get the picture of the band. I mean, the artwork. I mean, this album. I mean, come on. Jailbreak, Angel from the Coast, Running Back. I mean, The Boys Are Back in Town, Cowboy Song, Emerald. I mean,
it's really what put Thin Lizzy on the map, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just a great record.
It is. So if you haven't heard Thin Lizzy before, you should probably start with this, Jailbreak. Released in 1970, I should know this, 6? Or, fuck, I have to pull it out and see. It's on a Vertigo label. We shown different Vertigo labels with Soren. And this is like, I think this is a second or third Vertigo. And if I hold it up, this is like the original Vertigo label, which is Black Sabbath.
There you go.
Right there. And this album was released in 1976. You see?
76,
I know my stuff.
There you go.
Yes. And fairly good copy. I actually found this in the dollar bin.
You're so lucky, man. You find a
which is
lot of
kinda
shit in
cool.
the dollar bin. That
Yeah, but I go digging like 2-3 times a week in our local record store. So they know me by name, I know, and say, "Hey, Mike,
here
what's
comes
going?"
Mike. Here comes that guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be here for like hours
Yes.
digging through the dollar bin.
Yeah, and they take pity on me, and sometimes I get to a sneak peek before they set everything out in the store, so I get to go into the office to the special crates and
Ooh.
beforehand. So
See?
you see,
VIP.
I'm so special, VIP. But I've been a customer in one of the shops since I was like 13 years old, and that shop has been around from like the 60s. So so they know me. And the owner, who started out as a kid, because it was his parents who owned the record shop, and now his kids are taking over, which is kind of cool. So it's a generating thing. So yeah, so it's really cool. So I didn't come prepared. I'm sorry. I had
Son of a
more
bitch.
albums. Son of a bitch. Yeah,
We just might as well end the show.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Fuck this, right?
Mike screwed up. Yeah. Fuck Mike and his fucking albums.
God damn it. It's cool.
But it is. I hope. We don't know.
Because
we got
an awesome record we're going to talk about today.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go even back before Thin Lizzy. We're going to go like maybe 10 years, 9 years before that Thin Lizzy record came out.
Yeah. 9 years.
And for a little band, some people may have heard of them. You know, they were sort of big back in the day. They were called Windows. Windows.
Yeah. What?
Oh no, that's the operating system. We're talking about the band.
Oh crap!
The Doors. The Doors.
Oh,
the fucking Doors. I mean.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Hey,
the first record we're talking about. The first thing they ever put out.
Yeah, released in January in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
Produced by Paul Rothschild and recorded on the Sunset Recordings in Hollywood, California. Hollywood, yeah. They recorded it, I think it was like in 2 weeks. Because they played live. The Doors was formed in 1965, and they started playing almost immediately at the clubs. So they had everything down. So when they went to the studio, they just cut the record in like 2 weeks, and that was it. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So, and for our viewing listeners, did that sound right? No.
Viewers.
I don't know. Viewers on YouTube. This is what the album looks like. I'm going to take it out on my plastic sleeve and show it to you. It looks like this. Isn't that gorgeous?
You
see?
Go.
There's an innocent Jim Morrison there with the whole band.
Did you say innocent Jim Morrison?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read somewhere that they thought that he looked innocent, contrary to what he became. Okay. I don't know about that. But I used that metaphor. I don't know why. But it's a good-looking boy or dude or young kid. I don't know. They're in the 20s right here.
He got the ladies, man. He was definitely.
He got the ladies. Yeah.
Yes.
And talking about albums per se, and me go crate digging and finding stuff. This is actually one of these finds that I got. And you know me, digging through the dollar bins, going to flea markets and thrift stores and whatnot, and just digging. And 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000, I come across stuff that really matters. But I wanted a copy of this album just to. So since I'm not a collector of the Doors, I just wanted a record that I could play and enjoy. So I didn't think too much about it. I read on the backside, there's a little marking here. You cannot see it, I think. It says printed in the USA, which is always cool. Whoa, it's an American band. The album is printed in the US, which is kind of cool. I thought it was a repress, but it's actually not. So I use my Discogs, which is a database of we talked about this before, but I'm going to mention it again. It's a database where you can find all the pressings made. Of course, it's made by people who work with the Discogs. So there's music enthusiasts working, but also people can join in and say, "Hi, I found this copy. I haven't seen them in your database, so I'm putting it in." But this album, there is like 250 posts about this album, and particularly in different pressing, repress, and so forth. And I tried to find this one, and I actually couldn't, because there is stuff on here that varies a bit. For instance, the Elektra label, they were released on Elektra Records back in the day. So this is the Elektra label right there. And if you're watching, you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, you're missing out. The Elektra label right there. And the difference between the first US copy that I found, it doesn't say stereo over there. It's blank, or on the mono ones it says mono instead. So I had a hard time finding this copy. So I thought for the longest of time it has to be a reprint, because they do when the first copies are sold out and the lacquers are getting worn, they use another one. So, but to my surprise, I found an inscript in the runout. We talked about this with Soren. This is the runout groove, where the people that work at the pressing plants and mastering people, they do their initials and write some different stuff, and there's a matrix number here, so that you know which kind of album it is and when it was printed. But I found an inscript here and it says AL, and I haven't seen this before. And I'm not like Soren. I haven't memorized every inscript there is in the runout groove, so I had to look that up. And it says it's an Allentown pressing, and I actually don't know much about Allentown, but I haven't seen this before, so I had to look it up, and I said, well, maybe I found it in a dollar bin, paid $1 for it. I thought, well, maybe it's worth like $5 or $6, something like that. And actually, right now it's on sale at Discogs for $350.
Jeez.
You see? Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So every now and then, when you go crate digging like a maniac, like me, you can find really cool stuff. So I'm pretty happy about this one.
Yeah.
And it's a decent copy. There is ringware, which you can see here, and there is some fair amount of hairlines on the record itself, but it plays good. No skipping, no nothing. So it's I've cleaned it up a bit, so it's really I'm very satisfied. I almost shit my pants yesterday when I finally found it. Oh, look at this!
There you go.
You see, right there.
Awesome.
The mystique of the band. So should we talk about the music?
Yeah, let's talk about the music. Like, you know, this was one of those records that I think the one famous song, "Light My Fire," is what introduced me to the Doors, and it's what made me hate the Doors. I hate that fucking song. Something about that song just hits every single nerve in my body, and I can't do it. I can't handle that song. And for years, and that was like early 80s that I discovered that song. I heard it on the radio. For whatever reason, it had a revival in the 80s, and it was played everywhere.
Was the Oliver Stone film,
you know,
the movie with Oliver Stone.
And it was just like, okay, fuck this band. Fuck this song. I hate it. And a few years later, I had this friend, and he was so into the Doors, like so in, like the favorite band. He's like you and Kiss, right? He was like, the Doors, everything. He's like, dude, you got to listen to the Doors. You got to listen. I'm like, no, fuck that band. And then I heard Riders on the Storm. And then I'm like, okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm sold. And, you know, I was listening to this album this morning before we recorded, and it's an odd record. It's a good record, with the exception of that shitty ass "Light My Fire" song. And but yeah, let's go through the track list. I mean, what are some of your favorites on here?
I mean, actually, the first single that got released was actually "Break On Through," which I think is a really great song. I do not agree with to the fullest extent what you say about "Light My Fire." I think it's a good song, but with that being said, if they took it out, I wouldn't miss it.
You'd be okay with it?
But it's there, and it became a single, and it was the song that put the Doors on the map musically.
Right.
So I think it's an important song on this album. But a Break On Through, I remember, because I saw the Oliver Stone movie, of course. Everybody did. And Val Kilmer, he did a fantastic job depicting Jim Morrison, which is kind of hard, I would imagine. But he also sang for real in the movie. And he did a couple of takes from, I think they edited out Jim's voice and used the background with the Doors, so that the rest of the members could listen to what Val Kilmer was sounding like in his portrayal of Jim. And so they went to the studio, and I remember reading an interview with Ray Manzarek, who played the keyboards or Hammond, or whatever you want to call it, and he said, we're sort of like, it was back and forth all the time, and I got a little irritated, so we went to the studio, and I think it was Break On Through that sounded through the speakers, and I said, yeah, we all heard it, we want to listen to Val, that's why we're here. Play the song, just play the song. We haven't got all day. And the producer said, well, it's playing. What? So it's this Val singing? Yeah. And Ray said, damn, it sounded like Jim. But when they sat down, of course, there were some differences. But in an agitated state, they actually thought that Val was Jim. It was the same dude singing. So he did a good job. So, and that's when they knew that this movie is going to be great.
Yeah.
And Val Kilmer had such respect for the band and for portraying Jim, and they had a lot of meetings, and he was actually really scared about playing the role of Jim since he was so iconic, which I thought was really, really cool. So they met at a good point and talked it out. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm sorry. I think it was a year or two, because like you, I had a friend who listened to a lot of stuff like this, the Doors and some other 60s stuff, Creedence, the Mamas and the Papas, and so forth, and I didn't get anything of it. And he played Break On Through because that was more metal, he thought. And I'm thinking, okay, this is not metal, so what the hell is going on here? But that, and he often played that song, and he played Light My Fire, and it grew on me. And all of a sudden, of course, the movie came out, and I saw that one, and then I was sold. So which I think it's pretty cool that movie turned out to be such a box office hit. So that's cool.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, if not all the people, The Doors is Jim Morrison.
Oh yeah.
But for me, it's Ray Manzarek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know Jim wrote, most of the songs, music, lyrics, the whole 9 yards. But for me, Ray's playing just takes those songs to a different level. And I think if it was anybody else, the songs wouldn't be as good. I also think that if you look at the lyrics, listen to the lyrics, they're not they're not the best. I think you need to be high to really get it, yeah, to get the full experience. So for me, it's got to be Ray Manzarek, and I think when you listen to these songs, his work on these is just, I think, incredible.
But in all fairness, it wasn't actually musical lyrics from the get-go. It was poems. And
True.
And Ray,
that's a fair point.
And Ray,
yes.
and Ray told Jim, we should put a band together and play, and you should sing some of these poems because it's going to be beautiful music.
Right.
And Jim was actually reluctant at first. So because I'm a history buff, that I'm a history teacher also. So I need stuff to be accurate. So I saw this in the movie. Of course, it's in there, the whole conversation, but I had to look it up and see if it's matched the reality.
Right.
And I found actually found an interview online where Ray talks about their first meeting, and it's like you said, he had the music already in his head, so he was a genius, Ray Manzarek. He had everything in his head, how he wanted the Doors to sound, and with that being said, I mean, he played. It's for people out there listening to us blabber about this, you have to understand that the Doors was something really special when they came onto the scene in the mid 60s, because it was fairly common that you had one guitar player, you had one bass player, you had a drummer, and then you had a singer. But the Doors didn't have a bass player. So Ray, he played multiple keyboard strokes. So he had the bass on one hand. I'm using for people listening, I'm using my right hand because he played it like this. Go on YouTube and watch me doing crazy shit with my hands right now. But it's he put the bass on one set of keyboards, and then he put the melody on a completely different one, which I think that's the Doors sound.
It is.
You didn't need a bass player because he played it everything, every note. So for him to approach Jim with lyrics, he told the interviewer right there, I didn't know shit about the lyrics, and here comes Jim with all this weird stuff, and I think we could really do something with this. So he persuaded Jim to form a band. And so that's the story from like Romanceric right there.
And then we have this. This is the result of all that. That first record of And there's some odd stuff on here. I mean,
oh yeah, of course. We should go through it. It starts out with "Break On Through" to the Other Side, of course. "Soul Kitchen."
Great song.
Actually, there isn't a bad song on this album. For me, I really dig this album. "The Crystal Ship," because everything in here, even if you think that it's that's a weird song, but if you listen to, because I can't listen to music like this on Spotify. I just can't. I have to do the vinyl version. I have to put side one on, listen to those 6 songs, "Break On Through," "Soul Kitchen," "The Crystal Ship," 20th Century Fox Alabama Song, "Light My Fire," and then I had to turn the whole thing over to side 2 and listen to that one. So okay, I'm skipping ahead, but there is every song here has a meaning for me. It's 11 songs that introduces you to the band called The Doors, and I don't know which magazine it was. Could it be Rolling Stones? I don't know, but it's top 10 best debut albums ever made, and some people say this is like the best there is. This is the best debut album from a rock band ever in history. So I don't know. I think it's a good album. If it is a voted thing that people have contributed to this top 10 list, I would vouch for it. It top 10 of the best rock albums ever made, debut albums, I should say. So, but I skipped ahead a bit. So should we go? We had "Crystal Ship" as number 3. Then we got 20th Century Fox, which I think is also a good song. Then we have had a.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay. Not so much. No, okay.
Not for
moving
me.
along.
Yeah.
Alabama song. Yeah, it's a cover.
It reminds me like I'm in Eastern Europe somewhere, out in the middle of nowhere, which could be the beginning of like a horror film, and I'm in this like tiny little bar with all the locals in it, and this is the music that I would think that this like gypsy kind of music that I would feel would be played in there. It's got this Eastern European gypsy kind of feel, which after a few whiskeys would be fun.
This is actually I think it's a symphonic piece from theatrical play or of some sort. It's something that Ray heard, and it's supposed to it's I heard somewhere that he had listened to this piece and said, "Wow, this is kind of cool." And the melody in there is supposed to be some sort of I don't know if it's the complete song, if it is actually named the Alabama song, Whiskey Bar, but it is actually from a symphony orchestra playing this in some movie or I don't know.
Well, it is odd the way they spell whiskey with no E.
Yeah.
Because that's not the American way to spell whiskey, them being an American band, right? So that I thought that was kind of interesting too. Yeah. So that makes sense.
And you can see and on the record here it says Jailbreak and Whitmark, so it's not their song.
Oh, well, there you go.
But it's so famous right now, so everybody thinks that it's a Doors song.
That's
So-
when you know you've covered a song right, when everybody
yeah.
thinks it's yours.
On the moon of Alabama, da 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 da. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. You see?
Here we go.
I mean, it fits Jim. Show me the way
It
to the
does.
next whiskey bar. You see? He didn't even know it. He was singing about himself.
There you go.
You see? Oh, and number 6 on the first side one. It's your favorite.
Yes.
Light My Fire.
Yeah, I'll set that fucking song on fire so we'll never have to hear it again.
We should do a top 10 list of the top 10 songs that Phil hates. I mean,
should. Top
that
10 hated
top 10
songs. In fact,
by
when I
Phil
listened
Boyer.
to this record, I listened to it twice this morning before we recorded. And every time that song came on, I fucking skipped it. I didn't even listen to it. I couldn't even just let it roll. I couldn't do it. It is the one song that if it comes on the radio, I'm fucking changing the channel. I don't care if it's the Doors. I'm doing it.
Oh man, you're so bad.
Yeah.
And so and for me, with the vinyl record right here, skipping over it and turning the page, flipping the vinyl over to the side 2, you got Backdoor Man. And that's also a cover by Willie Dixon. You know, the blues player.
This record is pretty bluesy.
Oh,
I gotta say, very bluesy.
But going back to Ray Manzarek, I mean, that guy, he's so bluesy with his playing. You see the bass notes that he plays. Yeah. It's I mean. Even Robbie Krieger at sometimes when he plays the guitar, it's fairly bluesy, and John Densmore on the drums. It's they're a blues band, for crying out loud, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But they are doing a rock and roll thing about it.
Except this next song. This is not a. This next song is not a blues song.
No. I
looked at you.
I looked at you. Yeah.
I everybody out there is going to laugh, but go and listen to this song and tell me that it doesn't remind you of the Monkees.
that had to be in the same period of time, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Monkees were around in what 60? Yeah, about mid 60s, the late 60s. I think they. Yeah. I
remember seeing the TV show when I was a kid. They did some reruns. Hey, with the Monkees, and I thought, what the hell is going on here? But I thought it was pretty funny. I didn't actually know that it was a band that they played together, and I thought, what? I mean, it's a comedy. This ain't real, but lo and behold, it was.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, moving on. Number 3, End of the Night. What do you think about that one?
I think it's a great song. I do think though, this record as a whole, and I think especially this song, he was, Jim Morrison seemed to be very obsessed with death.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this song and the last song on here, which we'll get to here in a sec. But yeah, this was, it's a great song.
And it's funny. Okay, maybe it's not funny, but it's if the story is correct, he witnessed a car crash when he was a kid, where several people died on a highway. So he witnessed death really early on, and for some kids,
that can fuck you up.
Yeah, but for some kids, it's really scary. But for Jim, it became some sort of an outlet for him to talk about it in his poems and so forth. So But that's just my take on it. So, but I know that he witnessed something horrible. I don't know. I don't have all the details, but it's the story goes something like that. Number 4, Take It As It Comes. I think that's a great song too. I mean,
I think it's my favorite on the record.
Yeah.
The keys in this are just fucking awesome.
Yeah. No, it's Light My Fire. You don't. You just
that's
don't
a close
want
second
to admit.
Yeah.
And the last one, fittingly, it's called The End. It's an epic piece. 11 minutes and 35 seconds.
Yeah, who the fuck releases an 11-minute song in the 60s? Nobody fucking did that.
No,
the Doors.
and on their debut album too, which I think it's pretty bold.
But see, I want to talk about that song, but first, I think this whole record is a representative of how the music was back then and the latitude that record labels gave bands to put stuff out. We've talked about David Bowie's first record that was like, we don't even know, is that even music? I don't know what that is, right? Even Alice Cooper's first record. It was so different and so out there, and yet they were allowed to put that out there. Doors coming out of nowhere and being able to put this record out and then close it out with this 11.5-minute song that doesn't even make sense. But it's epic. It's an epic song.
It is. It's crazy.
The story it tells, and it just takes you on this all over the place kind of journey.
Yeah. It's for me. It's the end, and we talked about this before we went on recording. We talked about "Ride Us on the Storm," which also is an epic song. But those, I think, for me, those they fit together in some weird way. But for me, they're both epic. I love listening to both The End and Ride Us on the Storm in my headphones. With a dim light and just feeling it. There is something really, really different. I haven't heard music like that before, and I haven't heard music like this after The Doors, which is kind of tripping to think about, because there's a lot of great music out there, both from like the 60s, 70s, and 80s and so forth. But nobody has done anything like this before. And not after either. So, but they started out 1965, released their first album in 1967, and Jim died in 1971. So, 67 to 71, that's like 4 years, and so much epic music got released from that band, which is kind of incredible.
They really made a mark in a very short time.
Oh yeah. And I even the producer Paul Rothchild, he said that he knew from the get-go that this is something completely different than he was used to working with. So, and there's a funny story about the engineer. They have a producer that oversees when the band is in the studio and what goes and what's not that good, and he a producer can go in and talk to the band and say, hey, I think you should skip this part of the verse, and I think you should cut this out, and you should put in this together, and should do more,
and it needs
keyboard,
more cowbell,
more guitar. Yeah, you see. And the engineer, he sits there with all the buttons and stuff, and the engineer is a guy called Bruce Botnick. And so why am I mentioning this guy? not only because he was a part of this great album, but Bruce Botnick, he used to work with, I think, more than once, which I am right now, when the words are coming out of my mouth, I'm not really sure about. But at least one time he worked with Johnny Schaefer, who's been on the show, who was the guitar player, studio player for ABBA. He played. He was. I think he was a producer or an engineer on one of Johnny's albums. So he was actually in Stockholm. They flew him over so that he could work with Johnny, which I think is kind of cool. And seen some interviews with Bruce Botnick, and he seems to be a really cool dude. And he really liked Johnny's music and all of the stuff that came out of Stockholm, Sweden in the early 70s. So that's a little trivia for you right there.
A little trivia, yes. And if you haven't heard the interview with Johnny Schaefer, go listen to it.
Oh yeah,
it was a good time. They do tell some good freaking war stories.
Oh man, I mean,
meeting Bob Marley. I mean that story cracked me up, man. That's a great story. So go listen to that, because it's a fun time.
Yeah, it really is. So rounding up with this album, if you haven't heard the Doors' debut album, I think you should go do that right now. It's epic. If you would be so inclined, take on a pair of really good headphones and listen to this album in your headphones, preferably over ears, and not that Apple shit that
not
you
the earbuds. No earbuds.
No, not the earbuds.
Friends don't let friends listen to good music via earbuds. Okay.
No. So and go listen to this album, because it's great. It
just skip Light My Fire. It's okay. You don't need to hear that song.
Come on, man. Come on.
Fine.
Damn. Listen to it.
But don't come telling me hey, I warned you. I warned you to skip
Make up your own mind. Make up your own mind. Crying out loud.
There we go. The Doors. Okay.
The Doors.
Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most epic record ever. What would you rate this record?
Of rock and roll or hard rock and metal too?
Yeah, for rock.
8, 9.
8, 9
for me. Yeah, it's epic. I mean, I grew up with something different, so it's you put me on the spot, because
I know
if you compare this to Kiss or Black Sabbath or Maiden, it's, I don't know, but it's I really love this album, and for me it's something that I discovered new music through bands like The Doors, Rolling Stones, and so forth. I moved away somewhat. I broadened my horizon with like The Doors, Rolling Stones, Van Morrison, listen to David Bowie, what else is there? Elton John, and so forth. But I always stay true to my roots, which is hard rock, especially hard rock from the late 70s, early 80s. So that's my thing, because I grew up on it. I was a teenager in the early 80s. So of course that stuff is embedded in my DNA. But The Doors, I mean,
The Doors.
Damn. You see?
Go make it happen.
Yes.
Go make it happen. Go listen to it. Have some fun. And a little programming note before we bail. We're going to take a couple weeks off. We might have a little surprise in between, but we're gonna have a couple weeks off to go tidy some things up and get ready for the next phase of Sounds on Vinyl and some other things that we're working on. And until then, check out the website, go back and listen to some of the older episodes, and I guess until we meet again. Later.